I want you to just close your eyes for a second. Well, assuming you aren't driving, of course.
Yeah, please keep your eyes open if you're behind the wheel.
Right, exactly. But if you can, visualize your current digital life. Just picture it as this massive, sprawling, ultra-modern city.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
It's super crowded, buzzing with like an overwhelming amount of energy, and everyone you actually care about is there.
Your friends, your family.
Yeah, and your favorite artists are performing. Those independent creators you love following are all there setting up shop on the corners.
Sounds like a great place to be.
It does, right?
Yeah.
But as you navigate this city, you realize there is a catch, and it's a massive structural catch.
Uh-oh. Here it comes.
Every single time you try to talk to someone on the other side of this, like glass wall in the city,
Right.
a corporate guard in a really crisp suit just steps right in front of you.
Just physically blocking you.
Exactly. And this guard demands you pay a toll just to say hello to the person you literally came to see.
Yeah.
Or, honestly, even more frustratingly, while you are mid-sentence with a friend, that same guard casually shifts the glass walls around based on some invisible mathematical formula.
So they just hide the person you were talking to.
Completely hide them. You're completely at the mercy of the architects of this city, and you absolutely do not hold the blueprints.
You know, it's funny you use that imagery. There's a quote from our sources today that hits exactly that point.
Oh, lay it on me.
It says, quote, social media became gated cities. Kvittrat was built differently.
Kvittrat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is the foundational philosophy we're unpacking today. We're looking at a Swedish independent social platform called Kvittrat.
But it's not just about an app, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
More importantly, we're looking at the fundamental shift in internet culture that it actually represents.
I love that. So our mission for this deep dive is it's a journey into understanding what it actually means structurally and functionally to have your voice travel freely.
Exactly. Across the entire digital landscape without ever needing a tech giant's permission to be heard.
Right, because we're going to explore how creators, musicians, podcasters, independent journalists, small businesses, how they're all attempting to break out of these isolated digital silos.
And how everyday users are trying to regain ownership of their audiences.
Yeah, because to really understand the solution that Kvittrat offers, we first have to look directly at the trap, the structural trap of modern, centralized social media.
The terminology we're dealing with heavily in the source material here is isolated silos or gated cities.
Let's talk about that word silo. It feels very specific.
It's incredibly deliberate. I mean, think about an agricultural silo. What's its primary function?
It holds stuff. Grain, mostly.
Right, containment. It is designed to hold a valuable resource in one single place and, you know, prevent it from spilling out or being accessed by unauthorized people.
Okay, so in the digital economy, what's the grain?
Human attention. That's the underlying resource. The structure of the current internet forces creators to build their entire audiences inside these highly restrictive silos.
Right. So a podcaster or like an independent journalist, they might pour 5, maybe 10 years of their life into cultivating a following.
Doing all the hard work.
Yeah, but all of that connection, the actual social graph, it's housed on servers owned by one single massive corporation.
And because the creator doesn't own that underlying infrastructure, they are subjected entirely to corporate gatekeeping.
Let's make this super concrete for the listener. Imagine spending years building up a thriving, bustling community center in your neighborhood.
Oh, I like this analogy.
You put up the flyers, you host the events, you sweep the floors, and you get thousands of locals to show up every week to listen to local bands.
It's a massive success. You're doing great.
It's huge. But then, one random Tuesday, you wake up and realize the landlord of the building has instantly boarded up the front doors.
Just locked everybody out.
Yeah, they've taken down your event flyers from the windows. And when your regulars try to come in, the landlord stops them and demands a massive cut of your ticket sales just to let them walk through the door.
That's devastating.
You look around and realize, with this horrible sinking feeling, you don't actually own the connection to your people. You just rent temporary access to them.
Right. And that dynamic creates what's known in the industry as platform risk. And, you know, it's led to a profound industry-wide exhaustion among creators.
Creator exhaustion. You hear that phrase a lot now.
You do. And we aren't just talking about being slightly annoyed by an app update, right? We are talking about a systemic fatigue.
Like a deep burnout.
Exactly. I mean, think about the historical shift we've witnessed over the last, 15 years?
Oh, man, it used to be so different.
It really was. In the early days of social media, Platforms operated on chronological feeds.
Right. If a user followed an independent radio station and that station posted an update, the user just saw it.
It was a direct line. The platform was simply a neutral conduit for that relationship.
But then came the algorithmic shift.
Yeah, the pivot.
The platforms realized that if they just showed you what you asked to see, you might eventually get bored and just close the app.
And they can't have that. They need to maximize time on site.
Right, to maximize ad revenue. So they introduced algorithmic feeds. Suddenly, the platform wasn't a conduit anymore. It was an editor.
An editor with a very specific profit-driven agenda.
Precisely. This invisible algorithm decides if your followers actually get to see the video or the article you just worked so hard to post.
It's wild when you think about the numbers. Like, a musician might have 100,000 followers.
People who literally clicked a button saying, I want to hear from this artist.
Exactly. Yet, when that artist posts a link to their new album, the algorithm might only show it to, like, 2% of that audience.
2%. Wow.
Because the platform wants the artist to pay for an expensive advertising campaign to reach the other 98%.
It's basically a protection racket.
It really is. The platform holds the audience hostage and charges the creator a ransom to speak to them.
And obviously, this breeds incredible anxiety. Creators are living in a constant state of low-level dread.
Oh, absolutely. Waking up terrified that an overnight algorithm update, decided in some boardroom thousands of miles away, will suddenly render their entire business model obsolete.
Right, so they're forced to constantly pivot, making shorter videos than longer videos, using specific trending audio, doing these weird artificial behaviors.
Just to appease a machine learning model that they don't understand and cannot control.
Which just stunts creative risk-taking and completely homogenizes culture.
And this brings us directly back to the architectural mission of Kvittrat.
Right, the Swedish platform.
Yeah. The goal isn't just to build a nicer-looking silo with a slightly friendlier landlord. The goal is, quote, freedom and reach combined.
Freedom and reach, I like that.
It's about providing an actual antidote to that creator exhaustion by changing the underlying physics of how social networks operate.
So how does it do that? Because it sounds like a tall order.
To do that, Kvittrat utilizes a concept called federation. It operates as a node within the global Fediverse.
Okay, so federation, Fediverse. Those can sound like really abstract, kind of nerdy concepts.
You can, yeah. It gets technical quickly.
But the sources insist on explaining this without the technical jargon. And they use the best analogy, looking at a tech we all use every single day without thinking twice about it.
Email.
Email.
The email analogy is the absolute perfect key to unlocking this concept. Let's just examine the mechanics of how email works.
Okay, let's go.
If you register for a Gmail account, right, and you want to send a message to a friend who uses Microsoft Outlook,
right,
you don't have to pause and ask, wait, which email ecosystem are you in?
No, I just asked for their email address.
Exactly. You don't have to go create a separate Outlook account just to communicate with them. You simply type their address and hit send.
It seems so obvious when you say it like that.
But it's revolutionary when you apply it to social media. We have somehow, over the last decade, accepted massive digital fragmentation on social networks as just a law of nature.
Even though we would never, ever accept it for email.
Imagine if your phone carrier told you that you could only call people who also used the same phone carrier.
People would riot. I mean, imagine if Gmail users could only email other Gmail users. The internet would just grind to a halt.
Yet, that is exactly the absurd system we currently tolerate when it comes to social media.
So email works seamlessly across different corporate boundaries because it is built on open protocols.
Right. Specifically SMTP. It's a universal language that all email servers just agree to speak.
And Kvittrat applies this exact same logic to social media interaction.
Yes. By acting as a federated node, a user on a completely different platform can communicate directly with a Kvittrat account.
And the open standard that makes this possible, kind of the SMTP for social media, is called ActivityPub.
ActivityPub, that's the engine under the hood.
Let's break down the mechanics of that just briefly, because understanding how ActivityPub functions really highlights the power shift here.
Yeah, think of ActivityPub as the universal translator for decentralized social media. It's essentially a standardized system of digital inboxes and outboxes.
Right. If we walk through a tangible example from the source text, it becomes super clear.
Let's hear it.
So let's say you have a user on a completely different network, like Mastodon, and their handle is @user@mastodon.social.
Okay, standard Mastodon handle.
And they want to interact with an independent journalist who uses Kvittrat, whose handle is @Kvittrat.se.
Got it. So two totally different platforms.
Exactly. When that Mastodon user types a reply and hits send, their home server doesn't just, throw the message into a closed database.
Right, because it's not a silo.
Instead, the Mastodon server essentially looks up the Kvittrat server. It finds the digital inbox for that specific Kvittrat handle. It wraps the message in a standardized format that ActivityPub dictates, and it physically delivers that message across the internet to the Kvittrat server's inbox.
And then the Kvittrat server receives it, verifies it, and displays it to the journalist.
Boom. Done. The Mastodon user never had to download the Kvittrat app.
And the Kvittrat user never had to join Mastodon.
They simply interacted platform to platform, server to server, node to node.
And the cool thing is, this doesn't just apply to text messages. Because of the ActivityPub standard, complex interactions flow completely naturally.
Like what? Replies, reposts.
Applies, reposts, likes, and follows. All of it flows between vastly different platforms seamlessly.
So we visualize this transition. We move away from those concrete, isolated silos we talked about earlier.
Those walls just fall away.
Exactly. The digital landscape just transforms. We are now looking at a sprawling, dark expanse filled with interconnected, glowing nodes.
I love that visualization from the design docs.
Yeah, you have Kvittrat acting as a central hub for its users, right?
Yeah.
But it's constantly pulsing with communication lines connecting it out to the rest of the Fediverse.
To Mastodon, to image-sharing platforms like PixelFed,
Video platforms like PeerTube.
forum platforms like Lemmy or Friendica.
It's a living, breathing ecosystem where the borders are entirely porous.
It fundamentally repairs the fabric of the internet. It takes us back to a time before hyper-commercialization forced everyone into walled gardens.
But, this brings up a really crucial point of identity.
Identity. How so?
Well, if you are going to build an independent Swedish microblogging platform in this vast decentralized space, you need a distinct aesthetic identity.
Ah, right. You have to signal to your users what
Yeah.
kind of space they are actually entering.
Exactly. And this is where the visual design of Kvittrat becomes really fascinating to me. It is deeply specific and intentionally crafted to reject modern corporate tech design.
Oh, completely. The user interface is described in the blueprints as modern and dark, but it's punctuated by these intense, glowing cyan and turquoise neon highlights.
Yeah, it has a minimalist, slightly cyberpunk, almost terminal-like feel to it.
It definitely doesn't look like a bright, sterile Silicon Valley startup.
That rejection is vital, though, right?
Totally. The hyper-clean, corporate, blue and white aesthetic that dominates centralized platforms that's designed to feel frictionless and sanitized.
It's the aesthetic of a shopping mall.
That's exactly what it is. But Kvittrat's design language, the dark mode, the neon accents, is meant to evoke independence.
It feels a little underground.
It feels like a tool built for users, not a trap built for consumers. It's meant to be trustworthy precisely because it looks raw and forward-thinking.
And nothing, and I mean nothing, captures that raw, forward-thinking identity better than the platform's logo.
Oh, the logo, yes.
Because when you hear cyberpunk decentralized social network, you might expect a logo that looks like, I don't know, geometric node.
Or a stylized globe or some sleek abstract shape.
Right. But the mascot for Kvittrat is an image of a dodo bird.
A dodo bird. It is a striking visual paradox.
I need to describe this dodo for you because it is an arresting piece of design from the assets we've seen.
Paint the picture.
We are looking at a portrait of the bird rendered in deep, rich grays and absolute blacks. It has thick, fluffy, almost spiky-looking plumage around its head and neck.
Giving it a somewhat aggressive, almost punk rock texture.
Exactly. The beak is prominent and heavy, but what truly makes the image pop is the lighting.
The neon.
Yeah. The bird is illuminated from below by intense, glowing cyan and turquoise neon highlights, perfectly matching the platform's terminal aesthetic.
And then there's the text.
Right. Plastered across the bird's chest, the word Kvittrat is spelled out in blocky ransom note-style text, like individual distressed stamps.
It is gritty, it is glowing, and it is undeniably defiant.
And I had to stop and ask this when I saw it, why the dodo?
It's the immediate question any observer would ask.
I mean, the dodo is universally recognized as the ultimate symbol of extinction, dead as a dodo. It represents evolutionary failure.
Why would an ambitious, new, forward-thinking network choose a mascot famous for dying out?
It feels totally counterintuitive.
Well, it's actually a brilliant, deeply layered biological metaphor for the history of the internet itself.
Okay, walk me through that.
Think about the actual history of the dodo bird. It lived on the island of Mauritius in the Indian Ocean, right?
Right.
For millions of years, it evolved in an isolated ecosystem that had absolutely no natural predators.
So it's just chilling.
Basically.
Yeah.
Because it didn't need to flee from danger, it gradually lost the ability to fly. It became comfortable, grounded, and deeply adapted to its specific safe community.
Which sounds exactly like the early internet.
The Web 1.0 era. Exactly.
Yeah, the early web was just a vast collection of isolated, weird, highly specific communities.
Forums, personal blogs, independent message boards.
They were thriving ecosystems, but they were naive. They hadn't evolved defensive mechanisms because they didn't have predators.
And then the colonizers arrived.
Oh, wow.
In the case of the dodo, it was Dutch sailors and the invasive species they brought with them, rats, pigs, macaques. They decimated the bird in less than a century.
And in the case of the internet.
The colonizers were the massive tech monopolies. They arrived in the Web 2.0 era with aggressive, predatory business models.
They realized they could enclose the open web, herd everyone into walled gardens, and just extract the value of their interactions.
The weird, independent, human-scale internet didn't have the structural defenses to survive that kind of aggressive corporate monopolization.
It was wiped out. It went extinct.
So, by taking the dodo, the ultimate symbol of a community destroyed by thoughtless, aggressive expansion, and bringing it back with neon cyber enhancements.
Kvittrat is making a massive statement.
It is a resurrection. It's saying, we remember what the independent web looked like before it was paved over. We are bringing it back, but this time it has armor.
And the open protocol of ActivityPub is that armor. It's the evolutionary defense mechanism the original internet never had.
Exactly. It is a defiant badge of honor. It completely subverts the sterile, friendly branding of the tech giants.
And this isn't just about a cool aesthetic, right? That armor is real.
Very real. The structural defense mechanism of the Fediverse provides the most powerful tool a creator can have today. The portable audience.
The portable audience. If there is one single concept from this entire deep dive that fundamentally changes the power dynamic of the internet, it's this.
It is the game changer.
Let's really explore what portability actually means in practice for an ordinary user.
Well, because Kvittrat functions as an interconnected node rather than a locked silo, your audience on the platform belongs to you, not the platform.
So if a creator builds an audience of, say, 50,000 followers on Kvittrat,
those followers are connected to the creator via the open ActivityPub protocol, not by a proprietary database.
let's walk through the mechanics of a follower migration, because it is vital to understand how seamless this is compared to the old way.
Okay, let's say our independent journalist decides, for whatever reason, they want to move their primary home base from Kvittrat to a different server on the Fediverse.
Maybe they are starting their own dedicated server for their publication, right?
Sure. In the old walled garden model, this would be a catastrophic event.
Oh, totally. You'd have to post a desperate message saying, hey, everyone, I'm leaving this platform. Please go click this link in my bio, create a brand new account on this other website, and follow me there.
And historically, what happens? You lose about 90% of your audience when you try to force that kind of migration.
It's basically starting from scratch.
But on the Fediverse, with a portable audience, the mechanism is entirely different.
So what does the journalist actually do?
They simply set up their new account on the new server. Then they go into their Kvittrat settings and create an alias pointing their old account to their new one.
And that's it?
That's it. ActivityPub then sends out a standardized update signal to every single server where their followers live.
It essentially tells the network, hey, this user has moved. Please update their routing address.
And just like that, it happens invisibly. The next time the journalist posts from their new server, it shows up in the feeds of all 50,000 followers, exactly like it did before.
The followers didn't have to do anything.
Nothing. They didn't have to click a link or make a new account. The social graph, the actual connections between human beings, was preserved and moved with the creator.
Your audience should not belong to one corporation.
Yeah.
That is the core messaging of Kvittrat.
And you can see why. The sheer relief this provides to a podcaster or a small business owner, it just cannot be overstated.
It completely neutralizes platform risk.
You no longer have to wake up in a cold sweat worrying that the platform will shut down or that the CEO will make some erratic decision.
Or that the algorithm will suddenly throttle your reach to sell you ads.
Because if the platform becomes hostile, you simply pack up your social graph and move to a different node without losing a single connection.
It fundamentally rewrites the contract between the creator and the platform. The platform is no longer a landlord holding your audience hostage.
It is simply a service provider.
Right. If the service provider stops meeting your needs, you fire them and take your audience elsewhere.
Another core message. Independent platforms can still work together. You maintain total, uncompromised independence owning your account while remaining globally connected.
Okay, however, while building an audience you actually own is revolutionary, it does introduce a practical operational challenge.
What's that?
Well, a social graph is great, but how do creators actually inform that audience about their work on a day-to-day basis?
Right.
Like, how does a musician let their local fans know they have a gig on Friday? How does a radio station promote a new broadcast? This brings us to how Kvittrat handles publishing and promotion.
Right, because we established earlier that on centralized platforms, reach is artificially throttled to force creators into buying expensive algorithmic ads.
So if Kvittrat is circumventing that entire system, what actually replaces it?
The philosophy here is centered around something called human-scale promotion and lightweight publishing.
Human-scale promotion. Break that down for me.
Kvittrat differentiates itself from being, just another standard Mastodon server by explicitly leaning into its utility for the working creative economy.
So it's built to allow independent media, local businesses, and artists to publish simply and directly.
Exactly. We are talking about small announcements, microads, music promotions, podcast updates, event announcements, links, community posts.
And it isn't operating in a vacuum either. The documents show Kvittrat is designed to integrate with an existing ecosystem.
It acts as a connective tissue for independent radio, academic publication, and a whole system of creator accreditation.
It's a highly functional tool, but, and I need to push back on this concept pretty hard.
Bring it on.
I am looking at this from the perspective of an ordinary daily internet user. When most of us hear the words ads, promotion, or micro ads, our immediate reaction is to recoil.
Fair enough. People hate ads.
The internet is already drowning in spam. So if anyone can publish a micro ad on Kvittrat, and Kvittrat is connected to thousands of other servers across the entire global Fediverse.
I see where you're going with this.
What stops this incredibly cool cyberpunk network from devolving into an unmanageable mess?
Right.
What stops a bot farm on some rogue server in another country from flooding my Kvittrat feed with a million crypto scams or auto-generated garbage?
It's a very real concern.
If there is no central authority, no, corporate moderation team policing the whole network, how does this not just become a disaster?
It is honestly the most critical question regarding any decentralized network. How does moderation actually scale without a central authority?
Just how does it?
The answer lies in the mechanics of instance blocking and federated moderation. It is a completely different paradigm from what we are used to on centralized apps.
Okay, break that down for me. How does a decentralized network filter out the noise?
Let's start with the difference between algorithmic ads and federated promotion. Traditional ads on walled garden platforms are algorithmic and they are forced.
Right, a central corporation takes money from an advertiser and physically injects that ad into your feed, bypassing your preferences entirely.
You see it because the algorithm was paid to put it there.
But Kvittrat's microads are different.
Yes, they are organic. They are just standard ActivityPub posts. An event announcement published by a local venue on Kvittrat doesn't get forced into millions of feeds by a central server.
It only goes to the people who follow that venue.
Exactly.
Okay, but then how does it grow? How do they reach new people without an algorithm pushing it to the top of everyone's feed?
It grows through human endorsement. It's a feature often called boosting in the Fediverse.
Like a retweet or a share?
Basically, if a user on Mastodon sees that event announcement on Kvittrat and thinks, hey, my followers would love this, they boost it.
Which physically copies the post to their followers' feeds.
And then a user on Friendica might see it and boost it further. The promotion travels organically across the network, validated at each step by actual human beings deciding it has value.
Rather than a machine deciding it has profit potential. I like that.
It's community-driven reach.
Okay, I understand the organic growth side of it, but that still doesn't solve the spam farm problem for me. What happens when a bad actor just sets up a server solely to blast out junk to anyone who will listen?
This is where instance blocking or defederation comes in.
Defederation, that sounds serious.
It is. Think of the Fediverse like a neighborhood. Kvittrat is a house in that neighborhood.
Okay.
If someone moves into a house down the street and starts blasting a megaphone at 3 a.m. every single night, the neighborhood doesn't need a global centralized police force to solve the problem.
They just collectively agree to ignore that house.
Precisely. In technical terms, if a rogue server starts pumping out spam or malicious content, the administrators of Kvittrat and the admins of Mastodon, PixelFed, and the others will simply add that rogue server to a deny list.
Oh, wow. So they just cut the cord.
Kvittrat physically severs the ActivityPub connection to that specific node. The scam farm can keep shouting into the void, but the messages literally cannot cross the border into Kvittrat's ecosystem.
So the moderation happens at the community level. If a server proves to be a bad neighbor by not policing its own users, the rest of the network simply cuts them off entirely.
Exactly. And think about what that does. It creates a massive built-in incentive for every independent server to maintain high quality and moderate their own local users effectively.
Because if they fail to do so, they get defederated, and their legitimate users are suddenly cut off from the rest of the glowing network.
Right. It is a highly resilient, distributed form of an immune system.
That's a great way to put it, an immune system.
It keeps the human scale promotion clean and relevant, because the moment a server allows promotion to become spam, that server is exiled.
That makes a lot of sense. It returns the power of discovery and moderation back to human communities rather than, opaque corporate black boxes.
Yes.
We have covered a massive amount of conceptual and technical ground today. I kind of want to pull all of these threads together and look at the complete picture of what we've learned.
Let's do it.
We started by looking at the exhausted creator, right? The artist or journalist trapped in the concrete walled cities of modern social media.
Constantly battling algorithmic shifts and paying tolls just to speak to their own followers.
And we have seen the structural escape route. We've watched those concrete walls fall away, replaced by the open, standardized protocols of the Fediverse.
We explored how a platform like Kvittrat uses the exact same foundational logic as email to allow communication to flow seamlessly across borders.
Connecting microbloggers in Sweden with video creators on PeerTube or photographers on PixelFed is huge.
And we examine the platform's visual identity, too. That dark, terminal-like UI with the glowing cyan highlights.
Of course, the armored dodo bird. I won't forget that logo anytime soon.
It's a brilliant reminder that the weird, human-scale internet of the past didn't actually have to die.
And that by utilizing decentralized protocols, we can resurrect it with the defenses it needs to survive the modern corporate landscape.
But above all, we explored the structural power of the portable audience. The profound shift that occurs when a creator realizes their social graph belongs to them, not to the platform they happen to be using today.
It enables true independence without sacrificing reach.
It allows for human-scale promotion, where local businesses and independent media can thrive based on community relevance rather than advertising budgets.
It is a fundamentally hopeful vision for the internet. And I want to leave you, the listener, with the final summarizing visual from the design blueprints we've been discussing today.
It's a great sequence.
Imagine that dark, modern screen. The words slowly fade in. Kvittrat din röst till världen, which translates beautifully to your voice to the world.
Your voice to the world.
Beneath that, we see the handle at Kvittrat at Kvittrat.se, followed by the text connected to the Fediverse.
And behind those words, a glowing network of cyan and turquoise lines begins to pulse and spread outward, branching across a digital globe.
We see nodes lighting up as small independent creators, musicians with their instruments, podcasters at their microphones, independent journalists publish their content freely, directly to their audiences.
And underneath it all, a sweeping, cinematic, electronic, ambient track swells, carrying this deep sense of optimism.
It's a vision of an internet that actually belongs to the people who make it valuable.
It is an inspiring architecture, but, it also leaves us with one final, deeply provocative question to ponder as we wrap up our analysis today.
Oh, what's that?
Well, we have spent this entire time looking at how this technology empowers the independent creator. But consider the inverse.
The inverse, what do you mean?
Look at the trillion-dollar tech giants that currently dominate our digital lives. Their entire multi-billion-dollar business models rely almost exclusively on friction.
Right. They rely on the inability of users to easily pack up and leave.
They rely on the incredibly high switching costs of losing your social graph. They rely on keeping us locked inside their walls so they can continue to act as the toll collectors of human attention.
So the question is?
The question is this. If open federation standards like ActivityPub truly become as ubiquitous, as invisible, and as standardized as email,
and if portable audiences become the absolute baseline expectation for every single creator and user on the internet?
What happens to the monopolies?
Wow.
If the Federation movement succeeds and the structural gates to those walled cities are finally permanently opened, will those massive, highly profitable silos eventually just empty out?
Will the glass city become a ghost town? That is a fascinating question, and it is something to seriously think about the next time you hit publish on a centralized feed. That is our deep dive into Kvittrat and the Fediverse for today. Keep wondering, keep exploring the open web, and we'll catch you next time.